So we asked Carolyn to be here. She's, came out really early to support our page and has really been engaged with us the whole time. Concerned, we that with her concern as well. She lives in Gadsden. Carolyn, I'll let you give some of your history. She's a lifelong resident here in Gadsden, and Carolyn's been engaged in just the 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 politics and the community and just every possible aspect around here. And she's always had a message about unity and growth. And when this first all happened and we started to speak about it, I thought she had a really good idea, because I was talking to Carolyn about how we keep hearing from the city that what happens in Gadsden doesn't, they have to take care of themselves, in Rainbow City, and they shouldn't have to worry about what Rainbow City says. And I've actually repeated this. You probably heard me a couple of times. She was like, we're the smallest, a lot of people don't know this, she said, but we're the smallest geographic county in the state. So what impacts our neighbors impacts us. And unity has been a message that she's talked about because of of just the kind of county size and the way that we don't need to divide each other. So when the opportunity came up, because that's an issue that we've heard a lot. So I wanted her to come in to talk as a Gadsden resident, because, we keep talking about, Gadsden doesn't care about this. We've heard it at the city council. They've said nobody's said anything. Which council district do you live in?
So I'm in City Council District 1.
Okay. And so,
which is East Gadsden.
East Gadsden.
And I actually live probably less than 5 minutes from a poultry plant in East Gadsden. So
okay. So
very familiar.
Yeah. So how long have you lived where you are, Carolyn?
About 20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
Is there a odor from the plant down there? Or I've heard it's better than it used to be, but it's still pretty rough sometimes.
It's better than it used to be. Certain times of the day, or sometimes if there's a strong wind, you may catch us in something. It's not as bad as it was like years ago. And so just to, I guess, kind of give people, enlighten people some. So years ago when people, and I'm a realtor by profession, long before I was in politics or anything, I was a realtor. When you would show people homes in East Gadsden, in that area, they would say, how close am I to the poultry plant? Are you going to smell the chicken plant? They wouldn't even say poultry plant, just the chicken plant. Are you going to smell that? And some people would not buy simply because it was too close for them to the chicken plant. It didn't matter how nice the home was. It was just simply too close to the chicken plant. The smell was really bad in the beginning. Not 24 hours a day, but certain times of the day in the summertime, like we talked about on this site, or I've seen you guys talk about on this site. Maybe when the wind blows, that sort of thing, it would be like that. And so I know just from living in an area close to a poultry plant that, and I think some people probably have the feeling maybe, well, some people have had to endure that, but that doesn't mean that everyone needs to endure that. And that's not a good experience. It does drive down home values. I know that from being a realtor. My broker at the very beginning, I think I shared with Christy, as some of this started to come out, she had a $400,000 contract on a property. I don't know if she's posted or shared it or not, but she did send it out to the team in the office and said, hey, I just lost a $400,000 deal because the potential buyers are afraid that it's going to drop the value of the property. And also they didn't want to smell anything. And so that's a lot of money for a realtor to lose commission. That's someone's livelihood. So whether you live in that area or not, that's just an example of how things trickle down and how it can affect someone else. So, whether my broker lived in Rainbow City or Southside, she lived in a tower, it affected her family, her livelihood. So.
Well, and there's talk too that this wasn't the only site that was considered. So if who's to say that there couldn't be, if there's not a clear understanding about what as a community is an acceptable industry to bring here, then the likelihood of what could happen next, if once that's the type of industry that we attract and we bring, like, for example, talking about the plant down that way. There's nothing came around that. What industry came up around that? I mean, no industry. You can't recruit anything that comes around that. Or if you did recruit it, it would be an industry more akin to that type of thing. But talk about. I know that unity in the area and kind of bringing people together has been something that you've talked about a lot. You've worked with cities, we've worked with the county, you've worked, and I know there's challenges that go along with that. But to me, the observation seems to be that, when we're talking about, putting a plan in this location so close to people wherever they live, it's kind of a unity breakdown of epic amounts here. Do you think this is something that we could be able to, if we could move, get this out of the way, we're not going to do it? What are some thoughts you have about ways that we can come together and talk about what we can build and prevent this type of thing from happening again?
Well, and Christy and I have been friends for a long time, and so, like she said, I always talked about being unified, regardless of your ethnic group, wherever you live, what side of town, what side of the tracks you're from, that sort of thing. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We all deserve a high quality of life here in Etowah County. As Christy said, when a lot of my friends moved away and wanted to live in bigger cities, I wanted to stay and make Etowah County better, which is why I eventually ran for county commission. And so, just to put things in perspective, when I was on the county commission, I represented a great deal of Etowah, not just the city of Gaston. And so I had constituents in Etowah and Gaston. And so my primary concern was always for Etowah and Gaston. And I think sometimes people don't, if it's not in their backyard, if it's not down the street from them, they feel like it doesn't affect them. And that's not true. And I think from the very beginning, as Christy said earlier, I shared one of her posts, and the first thing I said was that Etowah County is the smallest county in the state of Alabama, land size, not population wise, but land size. So you can be almost anywhere on a good traffic day in Etowah County in 30 minutes. So if you can be anywhere in 30 minutes, so if the wind blows and something smells in Southside, then trust me, you can also smell it in East Gaston or downtown Gaston. And that's just something that, affects the quality of life here in Etowah County. And I don't think that any of us would want that. Just some things. I'm not in office right now. Just things that I hear, just like everyone else on this page. I heard that one of the first proposed sites was possibly the landfill area, I think, which is right behind my income tax office, which is a form of livelihood for me. It also butts into green pastures, which is a predominantly minority African American neighborhood. So I don't think we would want it there. I wouldn't want it behind my office. We want it in green pasture. We wouldn't want it in Glencoe or Talon. We just simply wouldn't want it in Etowah County. It's just simply, I think, too small of a county to have that type of plant. And, once something is constructed and built and people are employed there, it's too late to say we should have did something different. We shouldn't have allowed it to come. It's just simply too late. And I guess, like people say sometimes in the street, all money is not good money. And so all jobs are not good jobs because, I had a friend to share with me that she had a conversation, and I think she probably shared it with Christy, with someone that they said that they worked at a plant, and a lot of the people were having injuries, like their hand injuries, like not just I sprained my back, but like getting hands cut off and that sort of things. You don't know what type of machinery. So just because you get a job, and a lot of times these jobs, I know from being in recruitment, with the county commission, a lot of times these jobs, they say it's going to pay $24 an hour. That's a higher rate of pay than even Honda starts out with. So typically it's the maintenance or the higher level salary people that are going to make that money. It's not me or the average person walking in off the street and they say, I'm going to start you off with $24 an hour, because everyone would be jumping at that. And every city in America almost would be trying to recruit that plant if it was $24 an hour job. So that's just simply usually not the case. I know as a former elected official that sometimes you don't know everything up front. And, people come in and they have all these incentives and we can provide grants, or we can provide this for you, and provide access to utilities or whatever you need, because we want to come to your community and make it better. But when you start to do your research, sometimes they don't make it better in communities. And I've been following the research on this page about the plant that's proposed to come here, and some of the lawsuits and some of the issues that communities have had with this company. And I just don't think, if I were in office right now, if I were on the commission, would I be in support of it coming here? No. Would I vote for it to come here? No. And so I think that's, the big issue is, all money is not good money. All jobs are not good jobs at the end of the day. And so that's been my concern. I don't want to smell it. I don't know that I want to continue to live here if, people, if we had that kind of plan here.
Yeah.
And I'm not in office, so I could move.
So, Gina Hollingsworth.
Hey, Gina. Gina is very active. Yeah.
Carolyn, the most frustrating thing to me is several council members have stated that they would vote based on the opinion of those in their district. How would you recommend communicating to them in a constructive manner?
Having been on the other side of the table also, I just think it's important to be respectful to someone, because at the end of the day, they're doing the job they feel like they're elected to do and representing their constituents. And I do think that their constituents need to reach out to them and say, hey, we don't want this plant in our backyard, in our hometown, in our county. It's a hard job when people, think that you're passing up jobs. So I get that. And they're saying, if someone is unemployed, I need a job. I need to put food on my family's table. I don't, they may say, I don't care, how it smells. I just need to eat. At the end of the day, I need to provide for my family. So that's a hard job for people. But as you said at the beginning, I mean, and I hear the current administration say all the time, there's over 500 jobs out there. I think getting with someone, with the Department of Labor, getting with your council person, your commission person, and saying, hey, I'm interested in one of those jobs. Or just being the elected official that goes the extra mile and says, hey, let me help you, find something. Let me see what else is out there. I don't think that that should be a deciding factor, because you're not hearing from your constituents. Because at the end of the day, your constituents don't get all the research, or they don't get all the information that you get. And if you're not saying anything, they may feel like it's okay. And there's a lot of things that are confidential when you're in the office and you can't discuss. But at the end of the day, I think that everything should be taken back to your constituency, and they should have an opportunity to hear all the facts. And then, you should, always vote with the majority of the people. And, so I've always prided myself, as Christy knows, on erring on the side of the people and not the side of government.
All right. Well, I think part of the frustration of stuff I've seen, and I'm a Rainbow City resident, is this matter is across the street from us in Rainbow City, but it's being chosen by the folks, the city of Gadsden, in this particular location. And I've seen a lot of discussion of, well, like, why would we do that to ourselves as such a small community? And I don't know, is that something that can change? Like, how could you change that moving forward? So that, I mean, I get it. We're worried about our constituents and our little, but we're all neighbors around here. Mm-hmm. I mean, your constituents are not, miles apart. Everybody lives in a different part. I mean, I live in Rainbow City and work in Southside. There's tons of stories around the community, and that seems like that's a very, very big source of frustration that a lot of folks have.
How can we be more neighborly?
Yeah.
No, not really. I don't know how we can be more neighborly. We should be. I think at the end of the day, municipalities look at something that I'm not a big proponent of anyhow, and that's a whole nother conversation, but they look at occupational taxes. What is that going to bring into our coffers, into our general fund, to our budget that helps us provide services for the people? So I do think that the council people are looking at, hey, if we get additional revenue into the county, into the city, then we can provide and sustain services that we provide to people. And, that may just be a conversation that you need to have with your constituency, job, economic development is down right now, we may have to go up $5 on the garbage bill. But I think it would be worth going up $5 a month on the garbage bill as opposed to having something. And then, I think people haven't talked a lot about health issues that sort of plant, if it contaminates the water. So even if you live in the city of Gadsden and you just simply don't care what happens in Rainbow City or Southside, most of us fish or in the Coosa River. We're on the boat. I don't have a boat, but I have friends that allow me to go out on the boat. When and you get out in the Coosa River, do you want to get out in something that you think is contaminated or not safe? Do you want your kids playing with that? Do you want a contaminated, water system? So I think it's a little deeper than just the smell.
Yeah, there's actually a question here. Has anyone addressed the hazardous materials or hazardous material trucks that will be traveling our roads to this plant? I work for a chemical company that serviced the plant in Hanceville, and a lot of hazardous materials are required to clean those facilities and trucks. Has that been discussed?
I know there's been honestly, from our page, I've heard there was a big somebody about the spill on Megan that happened. Somebody posted about that there was some type of a blood spill that happened right up the road, and how bad it was. It was somebody who was in EMA talking about how bad it was in order to get that cleaned up. And then I think Jason Wilson was here the other night, and he said he talked to somebody who trucked these type of things. And then I think he said that his buddy told them that these things leak like a sieve, that they just make a mess everywhere. So yeah. And we learned too, this is interesting. We learned too that it appears the plant that they visited on the site visit that has been held up as the, state of the art or whatever, that this would be a standalone rendering plant. The plant in Iowa was a processing plant attached to a rendering. So they didn't truck the nasty truckloads of rotting flesh in. They just were next door. They transported it. They didn't have to do that. So it was really not a comparable place, because the hauling in and the transportation of these things and unloading them and the parking of the trucks while they await to be unloaded was not even. And Tim Ramsey said it smelled bad even then. So that's an interesting thing. But going back to that question, I want to ask you something about this, about the idea of trying to get constituencies to agree. And I don't think it has to be, and I've heard you say this before, it really doesn't have to be us or them or my constituents over here. That if we had a master plan, if all of our leaders came together and truly believed that by helping each other, we help us all, and let's grow along with each other instead of in spite of each other, the question doesn't have to be, how do I help me mine to the expense of yours? It can be, how do we come together and create much more than we could have on our own for everybody here? And it's part of the thing you talked about is the need of a county-wide master plan with all of our leaders. So I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
One thing I've always proposed, even I think before I was ever in office, is having an annual or biannual community meeting where you have all the municipalities. And that's just been so hard to get people to come together and say, what's your plan for your municipality and for the county this year and for the next 5 years, and just sharing information, sharing plans. What kind of industries do you want to recruit? Because as I said, it's such a small county. You're certainly more powerful working together than you are separate individually. Putting all the money together and that sort of thing, and trying to go in together and have recruitment. When I was on the county commission, the Industrial Development Authority and the county commission had a hard time working together because IDA at the time was, primarily funded, or pretty much all funded, by one municipality, and that was the city of Gadsden. So of course you're going to, that's kind of whoever pays you is your boss. That's anywhere, any job. If I'm selling a house for you, you're my boss. If I'm doing your income taxes, you're my boss. And so if I'm at the IDA and the city of Gadsden is paying, writing my paycheck, then they're my boss. And so my recruitment is usually primarily to recruit to that one municipality, not the county as a whole. I've been a big, fan and a person that try to encourage everyone. Let's come together. Let's have one board where everyone has a vote because, and you can look back and see at one point I sat on the IDA board. I think you did. I sat on it as a county commissioner, and but when I sat on as a county commissioner, I didn't have a vote. So all I got to do was hear some, information. The plans of the IDA, but I didn't have a vote to say, I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. I didn't have a vote one way or the other. I think it takes everyone being at the table and having a voice and having a vote. And, just, I'm an African American female, so I just have to be blunt, just the reign of good old boys, it's just kind of time out for that. That's what's gotten us here to this issue now. Not having any diversity because everyone brings a different perspective to the table, and we need to value each other's opinions and points of views.
And along those lines, you've always talked a lot about being diverse means being diverse in race, in gender, in education, in both sides of the tracks, in I'm from here and I'm not from here, and so. I think that's what you just said about having different perspectives and points of view, is what, because we're all neighbors, we're all humans, like you said, we're all humans at the end of the day. And when our leaders sort of set us up, intentionally or not, in this us versus them type of a thing, and we kind of hear that mindset and we live in that mindset, it limits us in such a way that if we can sort of stop worrying about protecting each little kingdom and because you really can build more at the end of the day by reaching out and trying to now there's some things that you may not agree on. Okay. Obviously, one city is not going to agree on another all the time. That's fine. But at least there's a forum to sit at the table and see what you can agree on and what you can grow, and then what you can't, then you just you can't. But it's better than everybody trying to fight each other at the end of the day.
So we got great idea, Carolyn Parker. We aren't that county anymore. We are Etowah. Hashtag we are Etowah.
I like that.
For some of the older folks, #, we are Etowah. Let's see. I saw a good one. So I lost it. There we go. So that's where we need to start with change. Then IDA should be shared funding. That probably is phrased as a statement, but probably a question.
Yes, it needs to be shared funding because no different than your business. You're not going to let me make any decisions or have any input if I don't put any money up at the end of the day. And so I mean that's just kind of how the world works. So there have been other municipalities who have offered to contribute and say, hey, I want to contribute to IDA, but I also want to have some buy-in and have a voice and have a vote in what happens in my city, my community, and my county. And it is about, one community, one Etowah, one voice. That's something, as Krista said, that I've always pushed, even before I was in office. I mean, no one can do everything alone, and so we all need to support each other. And that's just been very hard for some people to buy into here in Etowah County. And I truly believe that if we were a more unified county in terms of economic development and recruitment and industrial development and that sort of thing, that we would be so much further along in our community, in our city, and our county. And that would benefit everyone. Our home values would be higher. Our wages would be livable. I've always been someone, to support having a livable wage. I don't believe that people should have to work 2 and 3 low-paying wage jobs to support their families. But that's kind of the way of life here in Etowah County, and it shouldn't be. So, the other night when I came to the meeting, Monday night, there wasn't hardly any minorities there, you know, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I was the only one and the cameraman, and maybe it was another person I didn't see. Um, so why is that? Is it that people don't feel comfortable coming across the bridge to South Side because we don't feel like we're unified? Um, you know, because it's majority, you know, non-minority in South Side, and they feel like, you know, either I'm not welcome or I'm not familiar with that area or it doesn't affect me in that area, you know, that sort of thing. You know, I know South Side, Rainbow City, there's new leadership, and you know, so hopefully, you know, those type of mentalities will begin to change. But you know, you should have had a meeting Monday night that reflected the county and what the county looks like. And you didn't, you know, and I'm a little bit different.
One of the reasons because we feel like this is an important issue for everybody, for the whole county, and so the question is, how do we communicate and reach out and unify with, and so that was, and we've talked about, is there something that we can do something in other areas of the county in order to make people feel and understand that this is an effort for us all.
I think just continuing to share the facts about the downfalls of having this type of facility in your community. You know, at the end of the day, everyone wants their kids and their parents to feel safe and to be healthy and whole. And, you know, you simply can't do that with this type of facility in your community. And I don't think that everyone is getting the message. And I think that people are also consumed with right now with COVID. You know, and I know someone, as soon as I get off, is going to say something about you and I sitting too close because of COVID.
Oh yeah, sorry, they are. Sorry.
You know, and I do have a mask, but you want me to hear me. And so I think people are consumed with that. You know,
actually, I don't think I've seen one comment the whole time we've been doing these,
really?
but it's a real concern.
Yeah,
they'll text you. Okay.
Yeah, and say that.
Because she's real big about me. She's like, where's your mask? So
I think that was some of it. You know, so we have a pandemic to be concerned with as well. You know, the country's in a recession, and so I think that, you know, people are thinking, well, do you pass up jobs? Will you get any more jobs? But I don't think having this type of plant is going to bring any more jobs at the end of the day. You know, so maybe you have these jobs. Understand that these type of plants have high turnover.
Yeah.
You know, so if you hire 60 or 90 people or whatever the number is, and then 3 months later, you know, they're sick from working there because they can't stand the smell themselves, or, you know, there's a spill that makes them sick, or whatever happens, are they going to, you know, really have a higher quality of life at the end of the day? And I don't think they will. And, you know, so the main thing when people hear sometimes that you're coming on, you know, I'm not here to bash anyone. You know, I have friends that are on the city council in you know, all the municipalities. So I don't have anything negative to say about anyone. I just want everyone to sit at the table and try to come together and come up with a solution to this issue, you know, and just, you know, reject the rendering plant. And that's me as a citizen. I don't want to smell it. I don't want it affecting our waterways and, you know, that sort of thing. So,
well, that's a good kind of a good segue into the question as a citizen, but you're a citizen that has a lot more insight into how this process works and how our government works around here. And that says, Carolyn, are you concerned with the lack of transparency throughout the planning of this project from what you've seen?
Absolutely. You know, I've always been one, and, you know, Christy's been around me, you know, to push transparency. Even when I was in office, you know, my whole mentality was, if I didn't sign a non-disclosure or confidentiality agreement, and you ask me what's going on, then I'm going to tell you. And if I felt like it was something that I needed to be able to tell my constituency about, then I wouldn't have signed the non-disclosure confidentiality agreement. Just, you know, point blank, because at the end of the day, you know, the other thing is that elected officials have to remember that they work for the people, and not for these corporations that come in, or for the administrators in the municipalities or the county, but you work for the people that elect you. And so now I'm on this side, and so I'm one of the people that, votes and helps elect people. So I want people to take my concerns, seriously. I don't think it's a good idea. And then, I'd be happy to talk to someone about why I don't think it's a good idea, or what we can do in lieu of not, having the rendering plat. I know that I think at one point the county looked at it for the mega site, which I worked a lot on during the 8 years I was on the county commission. And then at the end of the day, I don't know, for some reason, it couldn't be put on the mega site, I guess. I really hadn't spoken with anyone, about why they didn't go with it. And even, I'm very familiar with the mega site. So even with it being on the mega site, I would still say that it was too close to the community. I would still say that it was too close to our neighbors, even in Steele or Asheville. So I don't think that you take things like that lightly and just say, well, we're giving money to develop a road or access road or water lines or utilities or whatever's needed out there. I just don't think that that's the way to do it.
So I guess with the transparency question and discussion, you kind of want to explain what we're gonna get posted tonight that you've been working on.
I will. I've posted several Facebook posts about some documents and information that I have received regarding some of these transparency issues and addressing some of the comments that we've heard at the last meeting about this project is in its early stages and only 25% and some of those other things. Those statements just, based on the information that I have and I have received, it didn't, the accuracy of that seemed to just be a real concern. And I felt like, and I've been asked by so many of you, how did we get here? How did this happen? What stage is this? We're being told this, but it sure does sound like that. So I still want us to stay primarily focused on stopping this. Okay, that's obviously the number one thing, but I did want to go ahead in light of what was said at the council meeting last week. It just sort of, a response or some information needed to be shared in order to discuss what was said about what stage this thing was. So I've got a blog post and it's going to go through sort of the timeline, or as I have received the information on what the timeline was. And so if you'll bear with the post, it's a relatively long post, but the reason it's so long is because I'm trying to be very factual. I'm trying to tell you what I know and what I don't know, and what questions are brought by what I do know. And I'm sharing it with you. I'm going through and saying, here's what I know. Here's a copy of it. And, there may be more. We've asked the city and the IDA for information, and we've been told because of confidentiality and other reasons, they won't let us have it. So, if there is any other information that elaborates or clarifies what this blog post has, please, I hope the city and the IDA provides that. We need transparency. We want the truth. It's all we're asking for. And so I'll clarify. If I get that other information, it looks like, oh, there's some more I need to explain. I will do that. But based on what I have, what I've given, you deserve to know what I know about that. So that's what the blog post does, and it's a little lengthy, but it is because it's trying to walk you through. And this is a smart Facebook group. I mean, and it's long, and you have to read some of this stuff, but this group is going to be all over it. You're gonna I've learned more from you than you're ever going to learn from me. So I think that despite it being pretty long, I hope you'll be patient with me and read it through and provide your comment, provide your input. Is there any information, city IDA, that I need to add to this? Because I think it's an important timeline. We deserve to know this is not in the early stages according to these documents. And I hope you read it through, and I hope the city and the IDA will tell me if I'm wrong. So that's posting tonight, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get that on the internet at least before everybody goes to bed when we get done here.
Yeah.
But and guys, it is long. I'm not honestly sure that Facebook will let me post all that text. But we'll make sure we get it all in there so you guys can pour through it, and then hopefully we break it into a little more digestible snippets and stuff like that as the next days go by. But it's very interesting stuff. So
Michael was talking about maybe even doing a video or something
Yeah.
where I go through it and I talk about, I go through this,
so
this
y'all
document. So
y'all pour through it, and then maybe we'll try and get some video to maybe talk about it in a little more context. So I'm seeing a couple of quick questions that I think is the parcel in question appropriately zoned for the proposed use for the rendering facility? Is the proposed facility in compliance with the existing land use regulations? And then there was another question in there that do you know if the land has actually been sold to Pilgrim yet?
okay. So here's what I know. I know, according to the city zoning map, when you pull it up on the city zoning website, that it states that this plot of land is zoned I-1, Industrial 1. You've heard that probably from the city. It's industrial zoned anyway. I think the council has been told that. It's already zoned industrial, and it is. It's I-1. But when you look at the zoning ordinance, which all this is online, and you go the schedule of uses, I can post all this if you want me to. I've sent a letter to the city attorney outlining all of this. There's no schedule of use that fits this type of rendering plant under I-1. It would be under I-2. There's no, the way I read it, there is no use that fits within this that would be I-1. It would have to be rezoned to I-2. I sent these two, the screenshot of the site zoned I-1 plus the schedule of uses up to the city attorney, and I that's what I said. I stated that, and I said, is the property going to be rezoned? Has an application for it to be rezoned been filed? Tell me if I'm wrong. The way I'm reading this, it's zoned I-1. It has to be I-2. I haven't gotten a response back to that either. So, the short answer to your question is I don't know. You just heard what the long answer is. I believe it would have to be rezoned based on the information I have seen.
But it has not been sold. We know that for a fact, right?
There's no deed that's recorded at the courthouse that shows that it has been sold from the airport authority over to the city. I have heard that it has been, that this is rumors, whatever, that there is a deed floating out there somewhere, that there is, but I don't see how that's possible because there's so many restrictions on the existing airport authority deed that don't really, it's just not as easy as that. But I am unaware of any deed that's been recorded at the courthouse, and I looked, that has a transfer from the authority over to the city. I believe that it would take a couple of deed restrictions to be lifted in order for that to happen. But is there a deed sitting in a drawer somewhere I don't know about that I've been told there is? I don't know the answer to that question either.
And I'm seeing Kathy asks, how can they not know? Now, I don't know if she's saying, how can you not know, or they as in the city? So how do we not have a clear answer on this stuff at this point?
That's a great question, Kathy. So I can only ask pursuant to the law to documents I believe that I'm entitled to have, which I've done. I've done an open records request to the city, to the IDA, to the airport authority, to the ADM, to the county. The county was great. The county gave me everything that I asked for. Boom, boom, boom. It was fine. But I've not gotten documents from the IDA, the airport authority, or the city, any of that I have asked for. I have been verbally told by the city that they're not going to provide them, that they're going to assert confidentiality and other restrictions on all of them, and they're not going to provide them. I have not heard back from the airport authority's attorney, nor have I heard back from the IDA with regards to that either. So there are requirements under the law in order for them to provide that. If they continue to not provide it, then there's, of course, other legal avenues that I can pursue in order to obtain those. Hopefully, we'll all show up and let our voices be heard at the December 8th meeting and thereafter, and that will become a moot issue because they will have voted no, and those problems, at least as it relates to this rendering facility, will be solved.
So, and I know you're not here to talk on,
Sorry,
on
Carolyn.
deeds and land
But I
property
have
and
an
all that
answer
stuff.
for
We got.
What's
you
your,
what?
I'll hear your answer.
So Christy gave like a attorney answer, I guess, and I'm not an attorney. So how can they not know? Transparency. It goes back to what we've said all along, is the lack of transparency in Etowah County, in government here. Transparency, because there are a lot of things that, and I know firsthand, that government officials hide, is transparency. How can she not know? Transparency. How come we don't know? Transparency. And just a couple of thought-provoking, I guess, comments. When you talk about how can you approach your city or county officials or whoever's involved in it, how is the airport authority? So I'll probably say some things that Christy wouldn't say. How is the airport authority making money? How's it funded? Is it funded by the city of Gadsden? Ask your council people. I'm not a council person. I think people need to start asking questions to their elected officials and holding them accountable. There's a group that I'm a member of called the Coosa Valley. Probably need to get them more involved. Coosa Valley Authority, something like that. But anyway, it's an accountability group, and all it does is it stands to hold elected officials and community leaders, not just people in office, accountable. So community leaders, that means people who are presidents of these corporations and these companies that, want to come to your communities and ask for tax abatements and all this stuff, and, interrupt your way of life, your quality of life. And, I've always said, follow the relationships, who's on these boards, how these people connected. Do they have relationships? Are they related? Are they not related? Where do they live? Is it in their backyard? That sort of thing. Follow the relationships and follow the money. And I think you'll get a lot of answers. I think you said Kathy asked that question. So, a lot of people have, long-term friendships, relationships. They're related. That goes back to what I said in the beginning about breaking up the reign of good old boy politics in Etowah County and all the municipalities. These relationships, have went on for decades and decades. And this is, where it's gotten us at the end of the day. So I just encourage everyone to be a little bit more open-minded at the end of the day and not just put people in office or in positions of leadership. Not necessarily, when I say put people in position of leadership, I'm not always talking about people that you vote for, but even presidents of these corporations and directors of these boards and organizations. Because at the end of the day, you want people in there that have your best interests at heart, not their pockets. So Christy wouldn't say that, but I would. So that's how she would not know.
So there's a really long comment, and I think you actually ran out of text on what I can post. It just says Facebook users. City of Gadsden resident, as troubling as the issue at hand is, I have been encouraged to read and hear about the need for strategic planning, master planning, etc. We should all take an interest and get involved in planning for the future, not just when we need to stand up in opposition. I'm guilty too. Another issue I've experienced is that when plans, guidelines, etc. are created, they're put on the shelf, or worse, the governing bodies that support the plan in theory do not support them.
That's true. You don't need to just to say you have a plan to say you have a plan. It needs to be a real workable plan, a strategic plan, and it needs to have community input. Chris will tell you, I've always been an advocate for letting citizens have input in meetings, and whether they agree with me or not. Because as I tell Chris all the time, whether you like me or hate me or love me or whatever, every day I wake up and put on my big girl panties. So it really doesn't matter to me. I can take your opinion and I want you to hear my opinion. So I think, the local elected officials need to allow the citizens of the county and the municipalities to have input into the strategic plans. It's not just about what the person in office likes, because what I like, you may not like, or what they like, I may not like. But allowing everyone to say, this is the vision we have for our community. This is what we want to see. This is the kind of jobs we would like to have. And sometimes we're not qualified. It goes back to workforce development also. You hear the chamber and different people, Alabama Power, economic development people talk about workforce development. Do our people in Gadsden and Etowah County, do they have the skill set to recruit some of these other type plants? So we need to work on that so that we can recruit other industry other than a rendering plant that will smell up everything at the end of the day. I mean, sometimes it goes back to, do we have the skill set, the workforce? And so maybe the elected officials, are saying this is all we can get. Well, if that's all we can get, then we're in bad shape. And that goes back to leadership and workforce development and economic development, and also allowing the citizens to have a voice and actually, because at the end of the day, the taxpayers should be running the county and the municipalities and the townships.
We got a comment that said, I hope Carolyn knows just how much we appreciate her honesty and taking the time to be here.
Oh, I appreciate that. There's no other place I'd rather be right now than right here. But
that's something I appreciate. I want to share too. She's been a friend a long time, but honesty is something that's often hard to, true honesty, and sometimes it hurts, because sometimes she's whether you want to hear it or you don't want to hear it, if it's the truth and it's transparent, then she's got the courage. Whether you're just somebody who's expressing a concern or been a friend for a long time. I think she told me to put my big girl panties on one day last week and to get over it. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
I think it's important to be, and I've already said this, brutally honest with people. And sometimes, people say things that are hurtful to me. And I'm sure there are some people out there that, that I'm probably friends with that really feel like they want this rendering plant. But at the end of the day, I always believe that right is right and wrong is wrong. And I think that this is the wrong fit and the wrong thing and the wrong facility for Etowah County. And that's my position. And I don't have anything to gain or lose from having this position, other than that I want my grandkids to grow up in a place where they have a high quality of life, and hopefully where they will want to stay. I think it'll do a detriment to the county if this plan is allowed to come. I think that you'll see people. We already have a decline in population here in the county, and I think you'll continue to see a decline and people move other places. And so if you gain 60 jobs and you lose, several thousand people to other communities that have a higher quality of living and a more progressive leadership, then at the end of the day, you've lost. You hadn't gained anything.
All right. Well, we just hit an hour, and I think I know there's some questions in there, guys. A lot of questions about the airport authority and all that kind of stuff. We've got a lot of resources that folks have been dumping into the group, and I think a lot of the theme tonight has been go dig it up, get into it, ask your elected officials, hey, what's going on at the airport? What is the plan with the airport? So I know I apologize if we didn't get everybody's questions, but I mean, it's an hour on a Sunday night, and I think I got to get this post out. So.
And Christy and I will be on the radio tomorrow. They can tune in
Absolutely.
and listen to us for 30 minutes. Talk
Is
about
it a call in too, Carolyn? Can
something.
people call in, or we just talking?
They can call in and give questions to the radio station, and
Okay.
he may field a couple of them, but he'll be asking us questions, and I don't know what he just said, to be prepared to answer hard questions.
Great.
I like to do that.
Call in, yeah.
And I think, and people know, I mean, since Christy, or I don't even know who created the group. So I know people probably think that we just talk all the time. But anyway, somebody sent me an invite to the group, and I joined it and been on board ever since. And I just, I'm glad that the group is here and that they're putting out information. And, I've had several people even inbox me privately. So if there's something that you think that I can educate you on, certainly be glad to do that because I think that knowledge is power and knowledge is the key.
And what is that radio station again?
12:40 a.m.
WMGJ.
WMGJ introspection with Fred Zachary.
At
Noon tomorrow. So tune in.
Let me throw that up on the screen. 12:40 a.m. at noon tomorrow. So guys, go give a listen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got any other thoughts or ideas?
Get involved. Pay attention. Shoot Christy a message or the group a message if you have questions, if you don't know. Be respectful to your elected officials. At the end of the day, they're doing the job that they think they're supposed to be doing. And so people don't know what they don't know. And I don't think that you ever get anywhere with being disrespectful. So I think just reaching out to them and saying, hey, this is, why we don't want it. And hey, let's pass on this and let's come together and bring something bigger and better to Etowah County.
And it's been requested. Who are the 4 people speaking Tuesday as of right now?
So there's 4 slots. We have 3.
Okay.
There was some confusion. It was my understanding that we had 4 slots instead of 3. So we're trying to decide whether it's going to be me speaking or David Chadwick is speaking on Tuesday. I've asked for them to add another slot so that we can vote, because we had requested that I speak and David be able to speak, and they've only given us 1 instead of 2. So I put another request in to please give us another one. But so it'll be either David or me. And then Joe Taylor, mayor of Rainbow City, is speaking, and Justin Overton from Coosa Riverkeepers is speaking. And then there's a 4th person that's speaking, but it's my understanding this is not the topic of he wishes to address the council. It's something different.
And speaking of Justin, I believe the plan is that we're going to remote her in tomorrow night for discussion on the environmental issues. And I know there are a lot of people in this group fired up about that as well. So, and she did such a great job Monday night. Is that already been a week ago? Monday night a week ago. She knows her stuff and has a passion with Coosa Riverkeeper, and I can't wait to get her on and turn her loose, answering a lot of questions that everybody's got. So,
can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I forgot. I just woke up. You were talking about the trucks coming in, something for people to be concerned about. We have horrible road conditions in Etowah County, in almost every municipality here, all 12 or 13 townships, whatever we have now. Can you imagine how many trucks are coming in a day?
100 a day.
100 trucks a day?
100 trucks
Can you imagine 100 trucks a day coming in, what your alignment is going to look like on your car? And I drive a Camaro, so it's already feeling every bump. You complain about South 11th Street. Can you imagine these trucks coming in and tearing your roads up? And trust me, it's expensive for municipalities and government officials to pave roads. If it were cheap, they'd all be paved now. So can you imagine if your roads are tore up and people are coming through and they're just bump, bump, bump? 100 trucks a day, that's a lot. And I hate 18 wheels. I'm sorry. Should I say that on here? But I do. I don't like 18 wheels anyhow. But 100 a day, that's a lot. And the condition of your roads will be even worse than what they are now. So if you're not concerned about anything else, be concerned about your cars.
Well, guys, again, thank you so much for being here, Carolyn. And guys, prepare. You got some good bedtime reading coming at you. We'll get it on the internet here before too long. Pour through it. There's a lot of info and big attachment. So y'all have a good night. We will talk to y'all on the internet here this evening and tomorrow morning. Thanks, guys, for hanging out.